Hi, thanks for joining us today. I am so excited to be here with these guys. We are going to be talking about Pine Creek Mission. It's one of our global missions partners, but it's not very far away. It's not like around the world. In fact, I'm here with some friends of mine. I've done some work projects with these guys, and I love these guys. They love the Lord, and they love people, and we've done some work together. We want to share with you specifically about Pine Creek Mission in Allen, South Dakota. It's a ministry that's on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. But before we jump into that, you guys say who you are and maybe a little bit of your work project history, like some of the work you've done. Gene, you haven't actually been on the Pine Creek Mission yet, right?
No, this will be my first time.
So you're going soon.
Been kind of out of the game for a little while, and hoping to get back in and do some projects.
Yeah.
Just
Awesome. Where have you been for work projects?
Paraguay, a couple times. It's just fulfilling experience to go somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Leaves a warm spot in your heart. You get back and reflect on things. Just enjoy it. I can't hardly say enough about it. So.
Yeah. Awesome. And Jim, you've been with us from the start on all of these trips to Pine Creek.
Right. Yes, that's correct.
And how many is this? The one coming up is when?
September 10th. And we'll be out there for a little under a week is the plan at this point. So this will be our fifth adventure out there.
Yeah, cool.
In 16 months.
In 16 months, that's right, yeah.
So, yeah, we've this crew, we took a crew out there, and wow, it's like they were like, you guys are amazing. You guys get a lot done. Please come back. So they can. So Tim keeps calling us back.
Right.
So, and Mike, what's been some of your experiences on work projects?
Hungary. That's been a number of years back already, probably 2008 or something like that.
Yeah.
And 5 trips to Malawi, Africa, and 6 or 7 to Paraguay, and now these 5 here to South Dakota.
And what keeps you coming back?
It's fun. we have a good time. There's there's a lot of ribbing goes on between.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The boys out there working on the
my ribs
job.
hurt every time we go on one of these trips.
And we have a good time always.
I think you guys are especially like to rib the pastor. Why is that? I don't understand that.
Low-hanging fruit.
You know, you get preached to every week, and so it's
this is your chance.
it's our opportunity.
Okay, I get it.
A little bit of return.
Right. So now you guys mentioned some overseas, Paraguay, Malawi. We've done a lot of work in some of these other places. But a few years ago, we made a conscious decision to open up a new ministry in South Dakota at the Pine Ridge Reservation. I went out there on my first trip, and I met Tim and Kim, and I was immediately impressed with our missionaries there that we support, Tim and Kim Wardell, and they're doing an amazing job out there of reaching out to the community there in Allen, South Dakota. You guys have met them now too. Here's my thought. A lot of people can't go to Malawi or Paraguay. They maybe don't have the time or the finances or for whatever reason. But wow, when we're doing a mission that's just down the road, well, I guess it is a little piece of road, isn't it?
Little piece. 14 or 15 hours worth. Yeah.
Okay, all right. But we just opened up. This is a fairly new ministry, but quickly we already had 5 trips. So you guys were in there from the beginning, and you've met Tim and Kim. What impresses you about Tim and Kim?
They're just salt of the earth, loving people. They just wrap their arms around the Lakota people out there, and just truly love the culture of those people and the traditions of those people, and they just really want to reach out and present Jesus to those people out there, and help in that community where they can.
You know, I love that you mentioned how they love the culture, because historically a lot of mission work has been, hey, your culture is evil or bad, and we need to pull you out of your culture, and you need to be like us. We want to go to these other countries and say, you need to be like us Americans. And what Tim and Kim have done is, like, they're validating the Lakota culture. They've smoked the peace pipe with the community. They've been in the sweat lodge, which is huge. That Tim has been invited into the sweat lodge with the leaders of the community. Yep. That's a big deal. You guys remember what they've invited them actually to become part of the Lakota family, and they've given Tim a Lakota name.
Right.
Do you anybody know what it is?
What it is, but
Great White Buffalo.
Great White Buffalo, yeah. Blanco Tatanka, I think.
Blanco Tatanka,
yeah. Yeah. So when you say they love the culture, they are fully engaged with the people and doing life with them. And what did you see?
Tim talks about a mission of presence, just being with the people.
Yeah.
And it's like being an example of what Christianity can do for your life. And he and Kim both are very comfortable in the position they're in. So it's not, there's a lot of stressful things happening on the reservation. A lot.
Like
Suicides,
Yeah.
Heavy alcoholism,
Yeah.
drugs, any of the bad stuff you can think of, it's there and in multiples.
Yeah.
Right. There hasn't been a project that we've been on where Tim hasn't gotten a phone call where he's had to go and support a family who's in crisis at that time.
This is what you mean by the ministry of presence.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are present with the people, doing life with the people, engaging in all the difficult stuff with them.
A lot of the people that they interact with are not necessarily members of the congregation. They're members of the reservation, but not of the congregation itself. So it's an opportunity for presenting the gospel in a little bit different way than maybe it happens elsewhere, but it's a great opportunity.
You mentioned suicide. The rate of suicide on the reservation is the highest in the country, and because the life is so hard there, and I don't want to tell too much of their story because Tim and Kim are actually going to come and be with us in December on a Sunday morning, and they'll be able to share with us, and they'll share some of their story, but they have personally experienced suicide in their family while they were on the reservation, working to connect with and love the people, people who have suffered greatly from loss and suicide. When Tim and Kim experienced that in their own family, rather than running from it and leaving, which is what all the people thought they would do, they stayed and they were taken into this community, and really that's something that bonded them even more. So this ministry of presence, they are in it for the long haul, and so I love that we can support them. So what do we do then? We go there to support Tim and Kim in the work that they're doing, to engage with the people in a limited way because we're coming and going. But let's talk about some of the things that we'll be doing there and that we have done there to be supportive of the ministry that Tim and Kim are doing. Some of the projects?
I think our first trip, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been 5 trips ago.
Yeah.
Our first trip we went out, we did some flooring in a home on the reservation for a family. Yeah, and the man of the family, I'm trying to think of his name. Sam was a boxer, and actually was supposed to box at the time Cassius Clay, and which would be, everybody would know as Muhammad Ali now.
Yeah.
And his parents were afraid and wouldn't sign the consent.
He was only 17.
He was only 17.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
he is a big, tall presence of a man, and wears a big, tall cowboy hat on top of that. So, but a great guy. And so we went into his home and we put some flooring down and some new molding and cleaned things up for him a little bit there.
Well, on that first trip, we also met David Red Bear,
David Red Bear, yep.
who is a descendant of Crazy Horse.
Crazy Horse, yeah.
So that was really interesting talking with him. And
Yeah, that was during the time we were putting a tin roof on a house. And what else did we do that? Did we start?
the
log
siding,
siding?
the log,
Yeah,
the
the
log
side,
siding.
yeah.
So basically, a lot of projects to help the people in the community. By doing so, we're helping Tim and Kim to do their ministry of presence, and we're basically coming alongside of them. But in the process too, we're working hand in hand with some of the folks in the community, right?
Right.
And I remember, I haven't been on all 5 trips with you guys, but I remember having some deep conversations with members of the community, people sharing their stories, a lot of tears, a lot of depth of sharing. And I'm sure you guys have experienced that as well.
Yes.
Jim, something really special happened with a gift, a special gift that our church was given. You want to share? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We one of the things that the Lakota do to express their recognition for service and fellowship and friendship is to present what is known as a star blanket or quilt. And we were fortunate enough to receive one of those from Tim and Kim for our service in friendship and fellowship with them, on the second trip that I think we went out there.
Yeah.
Second.
And there's a long story about where this star blanket came from that would probably take up the rest of the time here.
Yeah.
But
In a nutshell.
in a nutshell, a fellow who was a skeptic about another white man coming to tell us how to, do this, that, and the other thing in our community. When Tim first went out there, this fellow's heart softened over a period of time with Tim just being persistent as a friend with this guy. And he says, if you really are of your word, I have some things that need to be done around my house. And within a month, Tim had a crew of people out there at that guy's house working and fixing up his house and everything else. And the very end of that was a very emotional thing, because this is a piece of land that his ancestors have owned for generations. And so one of the most significant things that can be done in a circumstance like that for the Lakota is to give you a piece of their land. So for all the people that had worked on his house, he had filled a coffee can with dirt from the property and then planted a pine seed in it from the big pine tree that had been there for generations, and presented it to each one of those people that had worked on the property there. So pretty significant breakthrough
Yeah.
from that into the community, and that person happened to be a big community leader
Yeah.
at the time. He has since passed, unfortunately, but he was the one that was able to open some doors for Tim and Kim and really make a difference in that community.
And what led to those doors opening was that group of people going and working and showing the love of Jesus to this man, to the point where it meant so much to him that he gave them a plant, a coffee can filled with dirt with a seed. A seed had been planted. So, I mean, it's not just fixing things, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not just working on a building. It's building relationships. And we're building those relationships, but even more importantly, we're helping Tim and Kim on their behalf to build into this community.
Right.
The encouragement that we're able to offer to them is, you can see it in their faces and hear it in their voices when you're talking to them and around them, as they really feel. Especially, not so much the first time we were there, but the following times, he gets right into the ribbing sessions. And he considers us and we consider him a good friend.
Yeah.
So it's
Almost family.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Well, I know what happens you get up early, you get the coffee going, Tim shows up around the table,
Yep.
and there's storytelling time around the table, and there's bonding time around the table. That's where I began to first really understand the heart of Tim and Kim. Didn't have as much time with Kim as we did with Tim, but you get a heart, you get an idea, a little bit of what their heart for the people, and some of the stories. Oh my gosh, the stories Tim tells about how they are connecting with the folks there. It's beautiful. But like you said, Mike, there's a lot of despair in that community, and we have the opportunity to bring some hope into a life that is filled with a lot of negative, a lot of despair.
A lot of crosses along the road where there's accidents where people have been killed. They do the same type of thing that they do elsewhere in the United States, where they make a small monument,
Yeah.
just for memory. And well, you don't go very far down the road, and there's another one and another one and another one, and most of it's car accident type of.
Yeah.
Not with another car either.
Yeah.
Just run off the road type. It's rough country.
Well, I think that's a beautiful picture. I'm glad you told that story, Jim, about the coffee cans, because I think, what? Do you remember his name? John.
John.
John's good enough.
Yeah.
But John gave some of his dirt from his land and planted a seed in it and gave it to that work crew. And that's really what we're doing is when we go there, we're planting seeds. We're planting seeds of love and hope for people who desperately need that. And I'm excited that I wish I could go back again. I'm not going to make it on this next trip. But, Gene, this will be your first trip?
My first time.
Who
Looking
invited you?
forward to it.
Who invited you?
Mike Hess probably,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
much as anybody, kind of kept me informed about what was going on and kept me feeling like, hey, get back here and get back in the game.
Yeah, awesome.
And so that was good.
Well, maybe you're listening in, and maybe you're feeling like Gene, like it's time for you to get back in the game too. So if you want to get involved, let us know. Call the church office and reach out to us. We'd love to tell you more about the mission and what we're doing. And hopefully this has created some interest for others
It's
to
not
jump on.
something that you have to have a real amazing skill at doing. Whereas, like me, I'm a laborer.
Yeah.
I can be taught regardless of what some of these guys say, but
I've seen it.
Yeah.
but there's something for everyone to do.
Yeah.
We even need a cook once in a while. So.
Oh,
Right.
that's actually a key role in this. Yeah, if you're a cook and you want to come along, you'd be the most valued team member, I think, Because we get hungry when we're working hard.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for listening in with us. Any final comment, guys?
Nope, I would just say if you really wanted to have a truly fulfilling experience, regardless of whether you go to Pass Creek or Paraguay or Malawi or wherever, just set your heart to it and go.
Yeah.
Get out there and be the hands and feet of God,
Yeah.
and show the rest of the world and the community what that's all about.
Yeah.
And it's just very fulfilling and heartwarming to be able to serve in that capacity.
That's awesome, Jim. I'm glad you mentioned that word go. In fact, we're in a series now about Jonah. And twice in those 4 chapters, I see this message from God. First, he said, get up and go. But Jonah didn't. And that caused a lot of problems. Finally, then, in chapter 3 again, the second time, he gets a second chance. And God tells him, get up and go. And Jonah finally does. And maybe you're hearing that today too, this call to get up and go. Like you said, Mike, maybe it's Malawi, maybe it's Paraguay, maybe it's Pass Creek, maybe it's helping out right here in our own community. Maybe it's walking across the street, right, to talk to your neighbor. Whatever it is that God is calling you to do, let's do it. Let's get up and go. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. All right. Thanks for joining us today.